Okay, next up. We're close. Deputy Superintendent Angie Stallings.
Now we don't have 8.
We have, we got it, we got it, we're going to have 8 still?
Yeah, you have 8.
Okay.
Spencer and
I
one
wouldn't
way.
leave you in the trenches taking
Get
grenades,
on the
Mark.
phone on the way home.
I
you.
can get on the phone on the way home too, so.
Do you have that number? You ready to do it?
Oh yeah, I have the number.
All right.
Is Elisa still on?
I'm
Board
on
member-
the phone also. I'm still
Oh, see?
Okay.
Somebody else can leave.
Okay, all right. See, we are supporting to the end here.
Some.
Deputy Superintendent Angie Stallings, the time is yours to
Great.
do a quick brief and where we're at on our legislative policy statutory priorities.
Yes, thank you. And I am trying to connect right now to the screen. And hopefully you've noticed, last year, I think the first document on the backup is a document that we've done for the last couple of years, which summarizes the legislative concepts or bills, requests that we as staff are working on, either at staff request, task force request, or board member request. So that list is what we'll be going over today. Something we're doing new this year for the first time, and I'll be happy to get feedback from you at a later date, is this legislative request form that we're asking our staff members, and you'll even notice that I prepared one myself, when they have statutory changes or policy changes that they would like to us to work with with legislators to open bill files. And so you can see the blank unfilled request form there, and then you'll also notice that each of the 6 legislative proposals for board consideration that were filled out by staff here have a request form that's been filled out. The idea is that we can then quickly, hopefully, go through these bill concepts with you in the board meeting, but you'll have more detail in the board backup and can ask us questions either ahead of time or the staff member ahead of time, or reach out to Jeff and I, and it could be a springboard for discussion. So, given that, we will quickly go through the 6 staff-requested legislative changes, and then after that, we will summarize to inform you of some feedback we plan to give to the Education Interim Committee on 2 bill files that they currently have open as committee bills, and they've requested that we provide feedback. So the first 3, you can see, the first one was discussed in the Standards and Assessment Committee related to the continuation of a rule. The capital field trips funding was used to come through our office, and starting July 1 of this year, it is now the Capital Preservation Board that distributes that money to LEAs. When they move the money, and it makes sense because the capital field trips are right there, they schedule and can support them, the legislature forgot to eliminate the statutory requirement for us to continue to administer that program. So either it needs to be repealed or they need to change the language to be the Capital Preservation Board. So that's the first one. And I'll go through all the first 3, and then Jeff will take the next 3. The next one is to amend 53F for 406, which is the Upstart program provisions. Currently, we receive a chunk of money here at USBE for the Upstart program, but it can only be used for evaluation purposes. Every year we've had leftover or carryover money, and we would like the authority to use this also for administration. We have a lot of time spent by our staff here, and we have 0 money for staff support, especially if, pursuant to the audit, the legislature or others would like us to monitor or to go out and do income verification and some other things that the audit requires. So it would simply be adding for administration in the code. The next one is to make some changes to language regarding the data that we provide to USHE for student outreach, and that's essentially for scholarships and for opportunities for students to enroll in our partner USHE institutions. the language right now is a little narrow, or it seems to be causing some problems with our data sharing agreement. And so Whitney Phillips supports this legislative change that she has asked for.
Oh, my turn. So the next one on the list is the Reading Difficulties Pilot Program is set to sunset in July of 2019. So this just removes the sunset from statute so that the program would continue on. And then amend the code itself to remove the word pilot, 'cause once it's continuing, it is no longer a pilot. Number 5, we are going to look at aligning the statute with rule currently on our adult education program. The statute itself is actually confined to students who have completed high school who are 18 years or older. Rule actually is allowing for 16 and 17-year-olds who are pulling out of the regular school program to participate in adult education. So we would like the statute to reflect what we are currently doing. Number 6 is transportation funds are being dispersed on an LEA level right now the statute says that they're to be dispersed on a school level. We want to make the correction that it's on the LEA level. That's the way it was supposed to be. With all the data that we get, it's all on the LEA level, so this would correct that so that we're not dealing with that oddity in statute as well.
Okay. Would you like me to go through the last 2 before taking questions? Okay. And then the last 2 are the Education Interim Committee has 2 committee bill files open that they've asked us to provide feedback on. The first one is about the Upstart. They opened a bill file about the Upstart program after they received the audit report from their legislative auditors in their last committee meeting. And just wanted to make you aware that we will be providing some input and working with them as well as DWS on some potential changes to the program specifically related to the low-income family verification procedures. That seems to be the biggest concern of the legislative auditors, and we'll be providing some alternatives on how, in lieu of just being self-reported from the third-party provider, how we might verify that.
And the last one that you can no longer see on the screen, although it is on board docs, is the legislature currently has a bill file open to consolidate all of the reporting requirements for education right now. You may notice, especially next board meeting, you'll be getting a lot of the legislative reports that we have to provide the legislature. So that is consolidating all in one place so we can see every report that we're supposed to be giving the legislature. And we're also going to be seeking from the legislature the ability to combine all of that into one big mega report that will explain the whole agency. So right now the issue is it's very piecemeal, so you have random reports that may not really reflect the agency as a whole, and so there are some legislators who don't really understand what USBE does. So this would allow us to present a holistic report one time a year that could be used as a springboard into the following session.
And so, Chair, just as a reminder, and I apologize if you may have already
I'm
said
done.
this, but Jeff sent out an email this morning just letting you know of all those reports. And if we have 0 recommendations for repeal, that is fine. But if any board member had a specific report that they'd be interested in asking or recommending to the legislature that they repeal from the code and essentially stopping that report, this would be an opportunity to get that feedback from you all.
Before I open this up for discussion, we have this opportunity and we're going to have future opportunities. Is that correct? So moving forward, what?
Well, on this specific one, the interim committee is going to be discussing this particular bill on reporting in their October meeting. And so if we wanted to make a recommendation on that one, now would be the time. The Upstart program bill likely wouldn't come before the Education Interim Committee
I
until
was
November.
referring to when you said if there's other,
Oh, yes.
and that invitation, that
Yeah.
opportunity will continue to happen as we're preparing for legislature and as we're dealing with the
Yeah.
legislature.
We could seek amendments also to repeal reports later on after it's made a bill.
Okay, I guess we'll get to some comments or questions. Board Member Lisa Cummins.
Thank you, Chair. Could you re-forward that email that you sent this morning? Because I'm not seeing it in my my email. So that, thank you.
It was Jeff at
I sent it.
10:19 this morning.
Okay. Board Member Lear, is that for the whole board, or are you just giving direction or asking a question? I value your input, and
I was asking for the email also, because I didn't get it, but I have a strange email address, so I just asked if Jeff would send it.
oh, okay, that's fine.
to
I just
that.
didn't know if you.
But I have a sort of question.
Yeah, you're fine. This is
Are
what
you
we're
ready
here
for
for.
that?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
board member comments on
Is this
what we
the
have
time
here.
we should raise issues that we'd like to have as policy, perhaps policy?
aren't on the
There aren't
list, you
enough
mean?
people, that are not on the list, there aren't enough people to vote on it probably, but.
But one thing that'd be handy, if we do have something that we want to kind of surface in here, is, and I think we've done this in the past, is feel free to reach out to staff and start to create that so that it can be prepared for the board to take action and be prepared for good board discussion and not go through discovery in a board meeting, but kind of start pushing the water to the end of the row, or starting the water in the row by going direct to staff and have a bunch of preparation. It ends up,
And let me just ask a short question, and I'll see
Okay.
if I need to lay more groundwork, or if they're
Okay.
already focused on it. There was some discussion a couple of weeks ago when I was out of town about the residency issues and in some cases, special ed students, and some clarification in the statute. Is that something you need more? I thought you were already, per some other requests, you were already working on that, or do I need to make that more formal?
We haven't done anything legislatively, so the first step was going to be to look at our rules and work on guidance related to our rules. The second thing was that Assistant Superintendent Leah Voorhees was actually going to work with those partner organizations to see, to get some more communication, to see then if we need legislation. So at this point, I don't have anything ready, but I think I'll get with Leah and see if we need to get a request form filled out for November.
Thanks for that clarification. And if it doesn't need legislation, I don't want it. I just didn't want it to get forgotten either.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, thank you.
okay, so to manage everyone's expectations, at this time, Deputy Superintendent Stallings is presently, these are priorities. We're going to we're having our staff take action. Leadership and other may be supporting some of this. So is this the will of the board as we're moving forward, or are you wanting to change any of this? But by the time things get worked out, it may be entirely different than what we're starting here. But these are priorities, and we're going to start acting on those. So to help you with your expectations, Deputy Superintendent, what are your expectations at this point?
Most, I just wanted to clarify that without objection, we will move forward to work with legislators to open bill files and work on these concepts. And of course, once they're open or they're numbered, if we get bill files actually drafted, then the board would have the opportunity to take positions on the bills once they're numbered and finalized.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it. Okay.
I'm not seeing any objection, and I think you packaged this really well, and looking forward to more and more of this as we're moving forward. Job well done. Thank you.
Yes, and please, any board member that would like me to help them with a motion or fill out a request form or anything for other policy recommendations you would like us to work on, Jeff and I are both available.
Okay. Thank you very much.